I would have been disappointed in this movie even more if they didn't have the villain that I was expecting. Hey everybody, this is David, and today I'm going to be talking about the new 007 James Bond film, Spectre, starring Daniel Craig, returning for his fourth time in the role of James Bond. And what did I think of this movie? I'm going to tell you guys right now. First of all, Daniel Craig is back and he is badass. I love Casino Royale. I love Skyfall. Quantum of Solace was probably not the best James Bond film out there. There's a lot of other James Bond movies that I probably put over Quantum of Solace. But comparing it to only the Daniel Craig versions, I'll say, or all the James Bond movies, I'll say Spectre was a passable film. It was a good, entertaining film for what it was. Was it the best Bond film? No, not by a long shot. Was it the worst Bond film? No, not at all. It was entertaining and it felt like a James Bond film, especially those. I will agree with people saying that it felt a lot like those classic Bond films from the Sean Connery era. I did feel that a little bit, and Sam Mendes, the director, is, I believe, a known fan of that era of Bond, and you can feel it within the film. We also get a lot of callbacks to the previous Daniel Craig films, such as Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace and Skyfall. This is a direct sequel to all those films that have come to pass already, because Spectre has actually played a larger part through all these films than we realized, and they show all those connections and all the people that were involved with Spectre throughout all the films. And when you go back and watch those films, you'll get the clearer picture of what's been going on. Now, that doesn't mean you need to go back and rewatch those films to understand this one. Obviously, the great thing about all these James Bond movies is that you don't have to watch one in order to understand the other. All of them stand on their own really nicely. Even the old Bond films were really much like that. They didn't need the support of the others. But if you have been paying attention, you will get, a little bit of some special rewards here and there. I will say I was kind of disappointed with the villain of this movie. I won't go into too much spoilers about him, but there was very little of him. And that was a little bit of a problem. He does show up in the beginning, somewhere in maybe the 20-30 minute mark, but then he disappears for a good portion of the film and only returns in like the last 30-40 minutes of the film. Basically the third act of the film he returns, I guess. And he was kind of underdeveloped because of that. I think it hurt the character a little bit because of that. We did get a little bit of information about him and learn to and see what was his motivation, etc., but not too much. And they could have added more to it, added more depth to his character, but unfortunately, we didn't get it. I think the actor, Christoph Waltz, did amazing. I just feel the character, written wise, could have used a little bit more time on screen. I felt the Bond girl in this movie was a little weak too. Specifically, a lot of the romance stuff kind of slowed down the movie for me. I was like, okay, come on, guys, can we get back to the actual story here? I don't really care about this relationship, but I get it. I just I could have done without it or less of it. Bond girls are a tradition. We need our beautiful Bond girls. I understand. I just wish there was another. I wish they could have shortened it a lot more and give us more of Christoph Waltz instead. I did think Dave Bautista was a really threatening villain in this movie. When he comes out, especially in the train scene, there's a great train scene where there's a little fight on the train, and I thought James Bond was gonna die. I was worried for Bond's life, and it was a really cool fight. And this guy is like throwing Bond through doors and walls and stuff like that. Terrific. I thought he was a great villain. Obviously, when you come to a Bond movie, you're coming for the action scenes as well, and they all deliver wherever they're all spread out nicely throughout the film. And yeah, definitely the action scenes are definitely a good time. Supporting characters were all really good too. All in all, guys, I'm going to give this movie a 7 out of 10. I didn't think it was the best Bond film, but I didn't think it was the worst, like I said earlier. Um, it could have cut a little bit off, I think, for timing. I think the time went on a little bit longer than it should have. The movie is like 2 hours and a half. A lot of movies have made that work, and I believe even Skyfall was around that time. But for this movie, I think they should have cut it down a little bit and it gave us a little bit more villain. But other than that, guys, it's an entertaining Bond film still, and it's passable. I still enjoy it. And definitely, if you're a big fan of the character of James Bond, you'll definitely want to check this out, no matter what my opinion probably is. If you're a fan of Bond, go check it out because I think if you're a Bond fan, you will be satisfied with what you're given. I was satisfied. I just wish, yeah. But other than that, I think that's it, guys. You're on your own. If you're not a Bond fan, I don't think this one will win you. I could be wrong, but who knows? But until then, until next time, until my next review, take care, guys.